Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
A former Bravo reality TV star is facing multiple felony charges this week following a frenzied incident inside a Tennessee Walmart in which she allegedly attacked a woman with a sock filled with rocks, then stole her belongings. The suspect, 21-year-old Diamond Tankard, was arrested in Nashville's Antioch neighborhood not long after the violent encounter in the store's self-checkout lane. According to police, Tankard approached the victim from behind, grabbed her hair, and began punching her repeatedly before pulling out a white and red striped sock filled with rocks and striking the woman in the face. Surveillance footage from Walmart and cell phone videos taken by bystanders captured the incident, showing Tankard dressed in a pink shirt and camo pants and appearing to wear an ankle monitor during the assault. Emergency responders transported the victim to a local hospital where she received stitches for a wound above her left eye. The woman later told police that Tankard had stolen her $1,500 iPhone 14 and a $900 Louis Vuitton handbag during the attack. Tankard, the granddaughter of gospel jazz producer and pastor Ben Tankard, was known for her role on the Bravo series Thicker Than Water, which aired from 2013 to 2016. She appeared on all 27 episodes of the show during her childhood. Following the Walmart incident, she was arrested and booked into the Davidson County Jail on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and theft of property. She was released on a $25,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in court on August 22nd. Authorities say it's unclear what led to the assault, but as you may have guessed from the ankle monitor, this is not Tankard's first brush with the law. At the time of this week's incident, the 21-year-old was already known to law enforcement for a separate high-profile case. In December of 2024, she was charged with attempted first-degree murder after allegedly hitting a woman with her Range Rover following an altercation outside a bar. That incident left the victim critically injured, and Tankard was also charged with leaving the scene and failing to render aid. She was later released on a $1 million bond for that case. Currently, the investigation into the Walmart sock attack remains ongoing.
A quiet apartment in Queens became the scene of a devastating family tragedy over the weekend, after a man allegedly turned on his own wife and young daughter during a FaceTime call with a relative. Police say 54-year-old Ernesto Cruz is now facing 2 counts of murder in connection with the stabbing deaths of 41-year-old Ana Pilatagsi Moposita and their 2-year-old daughter Annalise. It all started just after 7 p.m. on Saturday, July 19th, inside a home on Forest Avenue in Queens' Ridgewood neighborhood. According to investigators, Cruz was on a video call with his nephew when he attacked his wife and daughter with a kitchen knife. Disturbed by what he saw, the nephew quickly called 911. Responding officers arrived to find Anna and Annalise with horrifying injuries to their chests and necks. Anna had been stabbed 18 times, and Annalise had been stabbed 9 times. Both were rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Sadly, despite life-saving efforts, neither survived. Cruz was also taken to the hospital with a wound to his chest. Police say the injury appeared to be self-inflicted. He was listed in stable condition and has since been formally charged. One neighbor, who did not want to be identified, said that they saw the victims being removed from the building. They told reporters, quote, "This isn't normal. You just don't see gurneys and people filled with blood coming out of a building. Not in this neighborhood." Another neighbor claimed that Cruz had a troubling history behind closed doors, including controlling behavior and threats. However, police say no prior domestic violence reports involving the couple had been filed with the NYPD. Family members told investigators that Anna had occasionally questioned Cruz's past relationships and sometimes asked to look through his phone, though officials said that may not be related to what happened. Anna's 2 sons, who live with their father, had reportedly been trying to reach their mother all day. According to neighbors, they arrived just as the devastating news was breaking. One witness described the scene this way, stating, quote, "You're calling your mom all day. You come here and you hear someone killed her. It was a shock and panic attack. Everyone was crying, bawling." Those who knew the family described them as quiet and reserved, and said that they could often be seen walking together with Annalise in her stroller. Cruz's only known prior contact with police was an incident in the city's transit system in late 2022. However, the details of that situation have not currently been released. The 54-year-old has no documented history of mental health issues that authorities are aware of, though they noted that Cruz was known to drink. Following the chilling knife attack, Cruz reportedly called his sister and said, quote, "Get here now. They're dying. Send help." Her son called back and began FaceTiming, reportedly capturing a portion of what followed, including Cruz allegedly harming himself. At the time of this recording, police say the case is being treated as a domestic situation, but that no motive has been confirmed. Cruz is now facing 2 counts each of murder and criminal possession of a weapon.
A man accused of killing his wife and living alongside her concealed body for more than a month has been arrested following a 24-hour manhunt near San Antonio. Authorities say 49-year-old Charles Bird was taken into custody on July 20th after allegedly confessing to his son that he had killed his wife, 44-year-old Angela Bird. Deputies responded to the home on the 22,100 block of Pleasanton Road on Saturday, July 19th after receiving a call from Bird's son. According to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, Bird had no prior criminal history and told investigators he had gotten into a heated argument with Angela on June 16th, during which he allegedly strangled her until she lost consciousness. In a press conference, Sheriff Javier Salazar described Bird as very forthcoming, even recalling that he told investigators he wanted to, quote, go big or go home with his first crime while explaining what had happened. Authorities believe Bird wrapped Angela's body in blankets and plastic bags after the killing, attempting to mask the odor with household cleaning chemicals. He allegedly continued living in the residence with the remains for 32 days before fleeing to a nearby vacant property where he had reportedly worked as a plumber in the past. Deputies eventually located Bird at the vacant home about a mile from the crime scene. He surrendered without incident and was arrested. While murder charges have not yet been filed and are expected to come following an autopsy, Bird already faces multiple counts of tampering with evidence involving a human corpse. Investigators say he also disposed of a trash bag with fluid residue from Angela's body in a dumpster at the Floresville Independent School District, where he had worked as a master plumber since 2021. The school district later confirmed he had no contact with students. In terms of a motive behind the killing, authorities say Bird told them that it all started when he got home on June 16th and felt like Angela was expecting another man to be visiting. He claimed this triggered the deadly altercation between them and directed investigators to his wife's cell phone, which was later recovered as part of the investigation. At the time of this recording, Bird remains in custody at the Bexar County Jail. His total bond was set at $650,000. If released, he will be placed on house arrest and barred from contacting Angela's family or possessing firearms. Sheriff Salazar said the investigation remains active as officials await the official cause of death from the medical examiner.
An idiotic Florida man with 8 outstanding warrants was served up a heaping bowl of instant karma last week after he mocked a police officer and attempted to flee the scene of a traffic stop, only to crash into a semi-truck just moments later. The incident unfolded around 11 p.m. on Wednesday, July 16th, when a Miami police officer spotted 42-year-old Eduardo Barbaro Gonzalez in what appeared to be a drug transaction outside a small store on Northwest 28th Street. As the officer approached his Dodge Charger and told him he wasn't free to leave, Gonzalez reportedly laughed in his face, shouting, quote, "Ha ha ha ha, psych," before speeding off. Unfortunately for Gonzalez, though, karma quickly caught up with him. He only made it 2 blocks before blowing through a stop sign and slamming into an 18-wheeler at Northwest 23rd Avenue and Northwest 23rd Street, directly in front of another officer's vehicle. After the crash, Gonzalez attempted to flee on foot, but was quickly detained due to a leg injury sustained in the collision. Police say Gonzalez initially gave them a false name and date of birth at Jackson Memorial Hospital, but a fingerprint scan revealed his real identity. He was on probation at the time and had 8 active warrants for charges, including aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, cocaine possession, grand theft, robbery, burglary, criminal mischief, and fleeing from police in an unrelated case. Officers booked him into the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center on Friday, July 18th, on a long list of new charges, including fleeing and eluding, resisting arrest, and providing false information to police.
A bizarre incident involving a naked boat theft took another wild turn this week when the suspect, who had been arrested following the initial incident, reportedly escaped from a psychiatric hospital while in custody. The whole thing began on Saturday, July 19th, when 36-year-old Stephen Blazzetti was arrested after an unclothed and unhinged joyride in a stolen dinghy on the Hudson River. According to law enforcement, Blazzetti initially appeared fully clothed at the Dyckman Street Marina around noon that day, but was asked to leave by employees who said he was behaving erratically. He returned shortly afterwards, this time completely nude, and jumped into a small sailboat before anyone could stop him. Witnesses said Blassetti then took off down the river. He allegedly steered the dinghy toward a larger anchored catamaran and managed to climb aboard. At that point, both NYPD aviation and harbor units had been alerted and were in pursuit. Officers boarded the catamaran and took Blassetti into custody without incident. The 36-year-old was charged with grand larceny, criminal possession of stolen property, and reckless endangerment. Authorities also suspected he was under the influence of methamphetamine at the time of the incident. Blassetti was taken to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital for a psychiatric evaluation before his arraignment. However, that wasn't the end of the strange story. On the morning of Wednesday, July 23rd, Blassetti allegedly slipped out of police custody at the hospital. According to police, he was last seen around 6:30 a.m. leaving Columbia University Irving Medical Center wearing a white lab coat, blue hospital pants, and no shoes. It's believed he may have disguised himself in medical clothing to facilitate his escape. Images obtained by the New York Post show Blassetti walking away from the hospital in the improvised disguise. It remains unclear exactly how he managed to escape, though multiple reports have stated that an officer in charge of guarding the 36-year-old may have fallen asleep on the job. That officer has now been suspended without pay. At the time of this recording, the search for Blassetti continues. Anyone with information concerning his whereabouts is asked to reach out to Crime Stoppers immediately.
A 41-year-old Florida man really put the entertainment in Charles Entertainment Cheese this week after he was arrested on fraud charges while dressed as the mascot of the eponymous children's pizza franchise. The whole thing unfolded on the evening of July 23rd when the suspect, Jermel J. Jones, was at work at the Chuck E. Cheese location in question on the 2800 block of Scherer Road in Tallahassee. Unbeknownst to him, though, police were preparing to bust him in connection with some recent credit card fraud charges. According to reports, Jones was recently accused of the crime after a woman discovered fraudulent charges on her account. The last place she'd used the card was during a child's birthday party at that same Chuck E. Cheese, and surveillance footage was used to connect Jones to the crime. Apparently, this wasn't the first time either. Police also linked him to a separate fraud case from less than 6 months earlier. While the case was pretty standard as far as investigations go, the arrest was anything but. You see, as part of his job, Jones was required to dress up as Chuck E. Cheese. And he was wearing his costume when police showed up to take him into custody that day. It seems that originally officers planned to ask the 41-year-old to step outside before placing him under arrest. However, they say that he refused to come quietly and resisted. As a result, he was handcuffed right there inside the restaurant before being perp-walked out of the establishment, still dressed head to toe in his mascot costume, in full view of horrified children. Footage and images of the bizarre scene have since gone viral online, including a couple where the Chuck E. Cheese costume head can be seen sitting on top of a patrol vehicle. Now that's what I call dinner and a show. Anyway, Jones is now facing 3 felony charges, including theft of a credit card, criminal use of personal identification information, and fraudulent use of a credit card over 2 times within 6 months. He has since been released on a $1,000 bond.
Representatives from Michigan's Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office say that at least 11 people are wounded this week following a terrifying knife attack at a local Walmart store. The incident unfolded on the afternoon of July 26th at a Walmart location in Traverse City. According to reports, the suspect, later identified as 42-year-old Bradford James Gill, walked into the store shortly before 4:45 p.m. armed with a folding knife. Without warning, he allegedly began stabbing people, seemingly at random. The attack began close to the business's checkout area, but reportedly continued throughout multiple sections of the store. At least 11 people were wounded during the ordeal, with 6 left in critical condition. However, it's said that things could have turned out much worse if it weren't for the intervention of a couple of brave Good Samaritans. Harrowing video footage taken at the scene shows the pair, one of whom was armed with a handgun, confronting Gill in the Walmart's parking lot. They were able to hold him until police arrived a few minutes later and placed him under arrest. So far, none of the victims of the attack have been named, though it's been reported that they range in age from 29 to 85. The majority of the victims were over the age of 60, and thankfully, it's said that all of the injured are expected to survive. As for the motive behind the attack, that's still very much under investigation at the time of this recording, though local media have released some details about Bradford Gill. According to these reports, the 42-year-old has a lengthy history of mental health issues dating back to his mid-teens and also has a criminal history that includes numerous drug and assault-related offenses. In fact, it's been revealed that police were actually searching for Gill before Saturday's stabbing spree, though they have not confirmed why. It's been reported that Gill was homeless at the time of this week's incident and is originally from Sheboygan County, about 100 miles away from Traverse City. Media sources have also pointed out that the 42-year-old appears to have written 2 self-published books on Amazon detailing his life as a born-again Christian. In one of those books, which was released in January of last year, Gill apparently discussed his, quote, astonishing revelation of his own identity as Jesus Christ and the Spirit as Judas Iscariot. Gill has now been charged with 1 count of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. He currently remains in custody.
A Canadian man is facing murder charges this week after his 9-year-old daughter was found dead in a shallow pond in upstate New York. Authorities allege the father made up a kidnapping story to cover up her brutal death. The suspect, 45-year-old Luciano Fratellin of Montreal, was arrested early on July 21st and charged with second-degree murder and concealment of a human corpse. He has pleaded not guilty and is being held in the Essex County Jail. According to police, Fratellin called 911 at around 10 p.m. on July 19th to report that his daughter Melina had been abducted near Lake George. He claimed 2 men forced her into a white van after he pulled over to go to the bathroom in the woods. The report triggered an Amber Alert, leading to a large-scale search involving canine and aviation units, park rangers, and multiple local agencies. But investigators quickly found inconsistencies in Fratellin's story. Specifically, authorities could not find any evidence of the so-called white van, or that Melina had actually even been kidnapped. That's when their attention turned to the father himself. By the following afternoon, everyone's worst fears were confirmed when members of the search team found Melina's body in a remote pond near the town of Ticonderoga, roughly 30 miles north of where she was reported missing. According to police, her body had been partially concealed under a log. Preliminary autopsy results confirmed Melina had died from asphyxiation due to drowning. Her death was ruled a homicide. Investigators now believe the murder occurred the same evening that Fratellin reported his daughter missing. Disturbingly, just hours before, Melina had called her mother in Montreal to say that she was heading home. She and Fratellin had reportedly been on a trip to the United States together since July 11th. The girl's mother, who has been estranged from Fratellin since 2019, told police she had no concerns about the trip and had spoken with her daughter regularly throughout. Authorities allege Fratellin fabricated the abduction story and deliberately misled investigators. He has no prior criminal history or record of domestic violence. Any motive has not been publicly confirmed. The case has now been sent directly to a grand jury, bypassing a scheduled felony hearing. Prosecutors will present evidence to determine whether Fratellin should stand trial. That being said, police are asking the public for any dashcam footage or eyewitness accounts of a gray 2024 Toyota Prius seen along Interstate 87 between exits 28 and 20 between the evening of July 19th and 20th in connection with the investigation. Anyone with information about the case is asked to reach out to the New York State Police. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.